The most iconic of all Christmas stories is the Charles Dickens masterpiece, A Christmas Carol. A Christmas Carol is the definitive ghost story about an old miser named Ebenezer Scrooge who is haunted by three spirits with the hopes of him changing his greedy and selfish ways to uphold Christmas with a thankful heart. A Christmas Carol was written as a novella in 1843. The book was written at a time when the British were examining and exploring Christmas traditions from the past as well as new customs such as Christmas card writing and Christmas trees. Carol singing also took on a new lease of life during this time. Dickens' sources for the tale appear to be many and varied, but are principally the humiliating experiences of his childhood, his sympathy for the poor, and various Christmas stories and other fairy tales. A Christmas Carol remains popular, having never been out of print, and has been adapted many times to film, stage, opera, and other medias. The novella was adapted for the stage almost immediately at the time of its publication. 3 productions opened on February 5th of 1844, with one by Edward Sterling, sanctioned by Dickens, and running for more than 40 nights. By the close of February of 1844, 8 rival Christmas Carol theatrical productions were playing in London. Sterling's version played in New York City's Park Theatre during the Christmas season of 1844 and was revived in London the same year. Other media adaptations include films, a radio play, and a television version. In all, there are at least 28 film versions of the tale. The earliest surviving one is Scrooge or Marley's Ghost in 1901, a silent British version. 6 more silent versions followed, with one made by Thomas Edison in 1910. The first sound version was made in Britain in 1928. Other media adaptations include a popular radio play version in 1934 starring Lionel Barrymore, an American television version from the 1940s, and in 1949, the first commercial sound recording with Ronald Colman. Out of all the adaptations of A Christmas Carol, there are 4 adaptations that really do stand out. The first being the film called Scrooge, starring Alistair Sim in the title role. The second and most popular being the made-for-TV version starring George C. Scott, the third being the Jim Henson Muppets version, and the newest being the motion capture animated film starring Jim Carrey. Each of these adaptations is essentially the same exact story rehashed, but each has their own unique take and spark of creativity, if you will. The George C. Scott version is iconic because of Scott's realistic portrayal of Scrooge. Scott played him like he played a lot of his characters, and that it resembled his raspy voice and mean-spirited demeanor.
What evidence would you have of my reality beyond that of your own senses?
I don't know.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them, a slight disorder of the stomach. It might be a bit of bad beef, a blot of mustard, a fragment of an underdone potato. There's more of gravy than of grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug, I tell you, humbug! Mercy. Dreadful apparition. Why do you trouble?
Michael Caine also played the cold-hearted Scrooge, with singing and dancing working perfectly with Muppet characters in the supporting roles. The Jim Henson version is clearly one of the best because of its musical numbers and its way to engage children in a classic piece of literature. And then the Jim Carrey version broke new ground with animation by utilizing motion capture software to capture the actors' faces and motion features, making the film look both realistic and also animated. A Christmas Carol was Dickens' response to a government report on the dreadful conditions experienced by child laborers in mines and in factories. After reading the report, published in the autumn of 1843, Dickens set aside Martin Chuzzlewit, which was the current novel in progress, to deliver what he referred to as a hammer blow on behalf of the poor man's child. Dickens began the book in October of 1843, and it took him about 6 weeks to write it. It was published in time for Christmas that year. One of the most iconic Christmas lines in pop culture is the one uttered by Tiny Tim in every musical, radio, or film adaptation, "God bless us, everyone."
I have no doubt. No doubt.
Cheers.
God bless us, everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
A Christmas Carol is in the public domain, which means that anyone can adapt the story to stage, film, or radio. A lot of what we see in Dickens' A Christmas Carol, at the time when the book came out, was very new and foreign, but today we hold a part of our own traditions such as caroling, festive parties, giving to charities, Christmas trees and lights, and of course, reflecting on spirituality and how it relates to the Christmas season. After all, Christmas is a Christian holiday celebrating the birth of Christ. So no matter what version of the story you watch, they all speak volumes of the same message. Each film is unique and each story creates its own artistic flavor. A Christmas Carol is the longest surviving of the Christmas stories, and to this day it still remains as popular as ever.
Ah! Humbug.